guys, welcome back to another video on the most aesthetically pleasing channel on YouTube. And today we're going to be talking about Cyberpunk Edgerunners and Cyberpunk 2077. Now, if you guys didn't know somehow, Cyberpunk 2077 is a game that launched almost 2 years ago now, I think. And it launched badly. It launched to a really buggy start, but I'm pretty sure I don't have to tell you that if you're watching this video. Over the past year or so, they've been patching it, doing updates constantly. Like every time I would turn on my computer, they would have an update ready. So they've been doing that for about a year. And then recently, within the past, I think 2 months, I'll say, they dropped an anime, and this hit hard with the weebs. They were fucking with this shit. They were eating that shit up. So the anime helped the game get a lot of publicity, and it just kind of skyrocketed there. Like it revived the game. It revived the entire franchise and everything. People were running out to their nearest Walmart to go get Cyberpunk. It was going fucking nuts. It was going insano style. It was absolutely fucking duplicitous, the comeback that they made with just an anime. But the one thing I want to talk about today, if you didn't see from the title already or the thumbnail, I want to talk about how the anime just isn't better than the game at all, even if you were to compare it like that. But I also want to talk about how they're not comparable because they're the same piece of media. They're working on the same side, if that makes sense. And I'm going to tell you exactly why I feel this way, and I'm going to prove it with these facts. So first off, I want to start by saying the anime is just a piece of the entire universe and the game that is Cyberpunk. Now, Cyberpunk has had lore before. It's had, I'm pretty sure, comic books and other games and stuff like that. But this Cyberpunk 2077, the game, is what really exploded, the expansiveness and really capturing how the entire world and city of Night City makes you feel. Like it really opened it up and really laid out all the groundwork and everything. It presented it to you right there and then, and it's in a playable format, which is also fucking amazing. So that's also one reason why I think the anime just can't really keep up. It never will be. Something that you watch can simply never be something that you can actually interact with, if that makes sense. So because I can dump 140 hours or 180 hours, 200, 300, if I have no life and nothing else to do with my life, fucking 500 hours. So because I can dump those hours into that form of media, to me personally, that holds entirely way more value than a 10 episode anime. And that's also something I want to talk about. The anime is only 10 episodes. Now, this may seem it's a small amount. Like most animes, if they're only going to have one season, they're going to have 12. And I think this is Cyberpunk Edgerunners, the anime. This is where it really falls short because you only have 10 episodes with the main characters. So it's not a lot of time to develop a bond or anything. And this anime is very gruesome. So people are getting knocked off and flatlined and zeroed literally every episode. I think the first episode someone gets knocked off. So you don't really have a lot of time to just kind of get to know these characters and get to, develop feelings for these characters. So that's also a giant flaw it has. And then also on top of that, just in general, you can't really even compare these two if you really wanted to. You could, but it just would never really would work because they're working in tandem. The way Cyberpunk Edgerunners adds on to Cyberpunk 2077, the game, it's so cohesive that you can't really compare the two. It's kind of like how you put ketchup on a hot dog. It's kind of like that. One is neither better than the other because you can't really too much have one without the other. Now that's kind of a bad example because you could just have the anime, but you kind of get what I'm saying. You kind of understand what I'm trying to say. One is specifically made kind of to just kind of complement the other one and just kind of expand, and the other one is just the base. It's the idea. It's where it came from. So for you to try to compare the two it's kind of dumb to me, which doesn't really make sense. And I don't like the fact that it took an entire anime just for Cyberpunk, the actual game, to blow up. Because truthfully, at my core, I said this in my last video about Cyberpunk, at my core, I feel like Cyberpunk has been the same game throughout the entire time. Because I played it on PC, and I don't know, that made a difference. It did. in my gameplay and everything and all the bugs and stuff. And I never really experienced too many bugs. Like I never seen like all the videos that came out at the time. I never had any of those problems. Now I had a couple. I had some visual glitches which were honestly, in my opinion, they were funny as fuck. I like seeing people just kind of glitch and fucking turbulence through the floor. It was kind of just funny to me. I didn't mind that shit. Like obviously, can you patch that out whenever you get to? But at the same time, it's not like we're on more pressing matters, if that makes sense. So I never really had too many problems with the game, so I was kind of confused as to why people were shitting on it so hard and where these fucking clips were coming from. It felt like people were playing this game on like a PS Vita. Like, what's going on here that you can't run the game? But I understand that a lot of people just don't have the hardware to support a game of that size and of that nature. So that also makes sense, and I can understand where people are coming from. So that's my little 2 cents on that. And the anime is just, like I said, it's objectively worse for the simple fact that you can only watch the anime. And like I mentioned earlier, it's only 10 minutes. It's only 10 episodes, I'm sorry. It's only 10 episodes, so you can't really get too invested into like kind of much of anything. Now by the end, I know you guys have seen all the memes. If you have watched the anime, it gets sad really fucking fast. So you can get invested, but just not, and to me personally, not as invested as you can into a game where you can sink an ungodly amount of hours into. But that's just my opinion. Now, bugs included, I still think that it's objectively better than a lot of AAA titles. Now, here's where I'm going to kind of skew off a little bit. I know I'm kind of rambling and going on to like something completely different, but I still want to talk about this. Even with all the bugs that Cyberpunk came out with, I still think it's objectively better in all other aspects than most games that come out now that get way more flack. But that's just something I wanted to talk about like on the side. And the reasons for me thinking that the game, if you were to compare them, like I said, I wouldn't personally because they work together. They're like friends, really. Now, the reasons I think the game is better than the anime is because the characters are just better. The world building, the relationships you see unfold, like it's just a lot more going on inside the game. It's a lot more diversity. It's a lot more stuff going on. You see more characters on screen. You get more time with characters on screen. You can develop a relationship faster with these characters because you can actually be in the game, so to speak. Obviously, you're not in the fucking game, but you can play this shit like you play it. Like it doesn't make sense to me why you would think the anime is just better than the game. And not everyone has said this, and obviously a lot of people realize like, hey, this is something I can play. Like, why would I watch this for real when I could just play it? It just makes more sense because I can do whatever I want. I can make my story how I want to do it, and this is what I want to do. So that makes sense. And I want to say at the end of the day, they're both masterpieces in my opinion, with their own flaws and their own good traits. But one was, like I said, really made to just kind of complement the other. It wasn't really kind of like, oh, let's see which one is better. And this doesn't mean the anime is bad by any means or even mid. I think it's still a spectacular piece of media for what 10 episodes that there were, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like even though it was only 10 episodes, it did 10 episodes as best as it possibly could. Maybe it could have did a little bit better, but it only had 10 episodes, and for what it did within that time, it fucking blew my socks off. I fucking busted a nut to that one. Like, that shit was amazing. And I just how I feel, and these are my opinions, and these are some things I'd like to bring up. And this is why I personally think if you were to compare the two, which I don't think you should, I think if you're an actual avid enjoyer and you like the franchise and you like what Cyberpunk the universe is about entirely and you just like all of it, I don't think you would even be comparing it in the first place, in my opinion, of course. But I think if you were to compare the two, the game would just be better. And you can't change my mind on that because I'd rather play something than watch something. Like, that's just how I feel. And I feel like you get way more time. You can devote way more passion into it. You get way more feelings for it. Now, some people are obviously different. Not everyone is built the same. Some people will rather watch the anime. But I'm saying objectively, this is why I feel like if you were to compare the two, the game is just better. So those are my little quick 25 cents or whatever. And that's it for my rant right now. If you like the video, leave a like. If you dislike the video, leave a dislike. And if you enjoy this kind of content, hit that big red subscribe button down there below the video, and comment what you thought on the video. Give me your opinions. Maybe you can give me some good insight to how you feel about the game or the anime or whatever. And thank you guys for your time. Appreciate that. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.